Hey y'all, welcome back to Whiskey and Windage podcast, the 2A podcast for the people by the people. I'm Matt from Burning Powder Kicking Brass, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Adam from Silver Bullet and Mike from OCA. How are we doing today, boys?
Oh, Matt, I'm doing great today. It's a great day. Man, I'm just so excited for this podcast.
Hell yeah,
dude. Yeah, man, this is going to be a good show. I'm excited about it. Second podcast of the new year. Everybody's getting their stuff sorted out. It's going to be ready to go, dude. I'm ready for it.
Awesome. Looking good, sounding good. Mike, who you wearing there? Is that the homie Grid? Who's on your shirt?
Actually, dude, yeah, I am. I'm doing my best Jabba the Hutt impression, but while I'm doing that, I am wearing the homie Grid Texas shirt. For those of you who are looking for him, just look up Grid, Gridd. Go to my Instagram, oca.usa. Search in my people. Look for Grid. He's got it. I think his company's called Kinetic Customs with K's.
Yep.
But definitely go shout them out. Speaking of that, Matt, that looks almost like a Ranger Point, but I know it's not. What is that?
This is from the homie Elena Page.
Oh, that's definitely not. That is definitely not Ranger Point, but
not Ranger Point.
No, cool in its own right. And Adam, I see something. It's tough to make out because it's so small. It's like micro size, but I see something about Drill Sergeant. What is that, Adam?
This is from Angry Cop. Make Drill Sergeants great again. Bring back corrective training.
Yeah.
So my boy Angry Cop's over there. Fellow old ex-Drill Sergeant. So yeah.
Hell yeah, waterboarding's not a crime.
No. So, boys, we have a great show in the works today. We've got an amazing guest, Mr. Brent Tucker from First Responder Coffee Company. He's going to be on and featured tonight, First Responder Cigar Company, and he's also on the Antihero podcast. So we'll see a little bit from him. We've got Mike coming in with the 5-minute review on the Sugar Weasel. I'm gonna hit us with some first world problems, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Adam for 2A News.
All right, gentlemen. It was a week in the 2A community. I want to start off by first talking about the new 2A beef we have going on between Tacticon and good old T-Rex Arms, good old Lucas Bakken over there. So for those of you who aren't tracking, basically Lucas kind of said a lot of bad things about their company, how their products would get you killed, and they just went on and on and on. Then they deleted their comments and they brought the comments back. And Tacticon just went on their podcast, which is a great podcast. I will give them props. And pretty much showed them why the items they said were going to get you killed won't get you killed. They proved it. And not only then, they offered to have Lucas come on their podcast to talk about it. And if they didn't want to do that, Nolan offered to do it the barbaric way and do a steel cage match. So Lucas has options.
Damn.
And they are going to be... Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, this is Lucas's response.
How about no?
Only because I don't think I understand he thinks he can do some cool guy stuff, but I really don't think he wants a fucking size 12 roundhouse kick by a reef flip-flop to the face.
What's it gonna do when Hulkamania in the largest arms in the world runs wild on you?
Gonna tell him, like, I could just see Nolan, fix his hair. Hey, guy, I'm about to hit you with a roundhouse kick to the face. And then he'd hit him and be like, I told you I was gonna do it. Why didn't you move? Should have trained more, and just would have fucking just killed it.
Yeah.
Yo, if anybody out there is offering,
walk off.
if anyone out there ends up offering like books or something on that, hit me up. Like I got I got some money
Yeah,
on Nolan.
it's gonna have to be offshore,
go.
but I'm in it, dude. I'm in it.
Yeah,
Oh
let's
yeah,
go.
I don't know. I mean, Lucas has those massive manly legs. I'm sure he can do a lot in jiu-jitsu with those.
Man, that ain't the only set of legs you saw this week, but let's keep moving.
Oh, okay. And moving on, guys. The other news was Mr. Guns and Gear Mike. He did get zucked this week, which is complete bullshit. It's just meta being meta. I do know that it's not completely gone. He can appeal it still, but until then, he is asking everyone to go follow Mr. Guns and Gear is it at Graham? It's Mr. Guns and Gear Insta, right?
No, Mr. Guns and Gear Insta was the one that just got zucked because that was
Mr.
the
Guns and
backup.
Gear,
His
yeah.
new one is Mr. Guns and Gear Graham.
Graham.
Is
I
the
keep
new
mixing them up.
backup because that's where he puts all of the info that's going to get him zucked. He won't let the main one get touched. Hopefully. So yeah, just if you can't find it, go look at his main one, and if not, I believe it's Mr. Guns and Gear Graham.
Yeah, or you can just check our Instagrams because
Awesome.
we follow it. So either way, guys, go follow him. Mike has been a big voice in the 2A community for a long time. He truly is
OG.
with the 2A. Yeah, he truly is 2A. We talk about who's 2A. Mike is truly 2A. So go support him.
Yeah.
And lastly, guys, in the news, it just popped up. I got the email from the Gundies. The top 5 finalists for each category are up. So the top 5 going to each going to Vegas for the SHOT Show. I'll be honest.
We got any of our people going?
No, they got snubbed, and I'll be honest, man. I think it's controversy.
Man.
I think that just like every award show, there's controversy, there's politics involved, and I know why politics were involved in one of them, which I say I understand why you did it, but I still don't agree with it. But it is what it is. We know the homies aren't there, but next year we're gonna vote them in anyways and get them back there. So
Just like every
guys,
other vote going on in this country.
that's unfortunate. How it goes,
about
man.
right.
It's about right. But guys, that's all I have for 2A News. I'm going to turn it back over to Matt for some first world problems.
Look, boys, I try not to complain too much. Like I'm a pretty blessed man. I do all right. I mostly have what I want, But let's talk about the fucking cost of Bakelite and Steelcase 762 right now, okay? What the hell kind of magazine costs $150? What the hell kind of steel Russian garbage is 65 cents a round?
That
What
shit
in the-
you shoot.
Is going on here?
Yeah.
Remember the days
Brief
when
rant.
AKs were cheap to shoot?
Dude,
Yeah.
now it
Man.
costs extra money to shoot garbage. I don't get it. It's why do I do this to myself? Anyway, I can't get all riled up about that right now. But I guess that's my first world problem is I just want to mag dump at trash with my friends again. That's all.
Dude, I love that.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it over to Mike. He's got a quick 5-minute review on the Sugar Weasel.
It's the 5-minute review.
Yeah, so my 5-minute review is on the brand new Sugar Weasel. It's the Sugar Weasel SD. It is the shortened version of the Sugar Weasel that comes integrally suppressed. It is the poor man's honey badger, and I say that because I am poor. I have one. Gave that thing a rundown, and dude, I'm gonna be real honest. It's pretty badass. It's got a lot of the same features that the honey badger has. It's got the shorty stock. It also has the same charging handle. It comes with their new 2-piece bolt carrier group, which I really wanted to shake down. And the coolest part about it is it comes out with the exclusive and elusive honey badger suppressor. You can't buy that. It only comes with the honey badger and now with the SD. So that's super freaking cool. Also with that review, I'll tell you some stuff that don't like about it. Went to the range, shot it. It shot like a dream. It was super cool. It's an ALG trigger. I think it's the Super Combat trigger. It's a single stage, not a bad trigger. ALG, that actually stands for, I think, Amy Lynn Geisley. It's their sister company. I may have got the first two names wrong, but basically the G is Geisley. They make a really good trigger, but I am a two-stage trigger guy, so that's where it kind of fell short to me. But again, if you're not a two-stage trigger guy, you'll see no problems with this. It's a crisp break. It's super sensitive. You'll love it. And the other thing is, it's not a knock. It's what it is. It came with the Reptilia stock, the Reptilia grip. The grip is super comfortable. The grip is super nice. I'm honestly gonna probably take it off and do some stipple work on it, just because I want to play with it. But you guys know me. I say it in all of my videos, especially actually down to the first broadcast we did, Adam, with the Build Your First Tactical Rifle. Yep. Everything I run, the grips are all the same. It has nothing to do in talking shit about any other company. Reptilia makes quality products that I own and run. Just when it comes to that grip, everything's got to feel the same to me. So that's something I'll swap out. But at a price of about $1,000 or more dollars less than the Honey Badger, you can basically get all of the same features. But it sucks, dude. It's another $400 gun. It's a 2-stamp champ. So you're gonna have to pay for the suppressor. You're gonna have to pay the SBR. You're gonna have to basically, I don't know, if you got a cool gun dealer, you might be able to get that dude as soon as the SBR is approved and they just keep the can. That part sucks because I already looked. That can is so skinny, you're not going to fit another one in, or you're not going to fit one that I own in there. So it's just going to be a 7-inch barrel that's ultra loud. But it does come with an adjustable gas block. It does have the Radian Raptor Honey Badger charging handle, and I went ahead and did mine up and put a PEC 15 on it with the Hydra mount and the EOTech and the 5-time magnifier. But dude, yeah, that's my review. I mean, unless you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I do. You said it's the poor man's version, but then you went and put $4,000 on top of it.
You sir could shut mouth. That's none of your damn business.
I can count.
But,
I'm good at numbers.
Yeah, well, that makes one of us. But if you do that, and you do that with a real Honey Badger, just go ahead and amplify that. Nowadays, a lot of people, everybody wants the Honey Badger. Well, I don't want to say everybody. So you have that crowd that loves Q and says, oh man, that stuff's cool. I want to get it. Then you have that crowd that says, hey, I love that innovation. I love Q, but that's not in my price range. I don't want to pay, $3,000, $3,500 for a Honey Badger. That's ridiculous. Yeah. And then you have that crowd that's like, I hate Q. Kevin's a woman beater. Everybody freaking, there's terrible, yada, yada. Well, dude, that's what people say. And I mean, KB's a polarizing character. I mean, I like the dude. I think he's funny as hell. I think he's cool. And if he was as bad as everyone says, he wouldn't be allowed to own these guns. So you can take that for what it's worth. But also, you're going to have those people that say that the SD's stupid. The SD's a waste of time. You're going to have to burn your hand because that suppressor's tucked in the can. Like, yeah, we know. We're not dumb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go talk to the homies, and I'm going to throw a Victos glove on, and I'm going to run gloves, and my hand's not going to get burnt. And if you're worried about that, then RIP to your little bitty tiny
You're worried about that? Laughs an AK.
Yeah. Your little bitty pingers. I'm sorry, my pingers hurt. But, whatever. Burn your little fingers that, you type on the keyboard all day. You don't do real work. So
keyboard warrior.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So, but that's my 5-minute review. Oh, and I didn't even say it. It's 300 blackout. I'm sure they're going to come out with a 5.56 version right now.
I hope not. I hope they don't.
Dude, I hope they do.
A 7-inch
the
barrel.
Honey Badger.
I'm sorry. All you guys that buy
out.
7-inch barrels at 5.56 are dumb. I'm just going to say it. If you own a 7.5-inch 5.56 barrel, you're dumb.
Hey, Matt, according to Adam, if this is 9, this is
Seven's like this. This is like a
Seven's like
7-inch
this.
barrel.
It's like
No,
a
look.
crab claw.
Hey, because Adam talks so much shit, I keep a tape measure on the desk these days, okay?
Yeah. So
That's
anywho,
9
if-
inches.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Ooh, look at that.
Ah.
Anywho, if you guys want more info on the honey badger, or excuse me, the honey badger, call me. But if you want to learn more about the Sugar Weasel SD, we did a review. It is on the Whiskey and Windage Reviews channel on YouTube. I go into it, talk about it in depth, break it down in the shop. Then we go out to the range and we shoot a little bit. You can laugh at me because I miss a few times, but you know, I own that shit. I pulled those shots. It wasn't the gun, it was me. But yeah, dude, that's my review. And if you have any other questions, definitely get at me for oca.usa and Instagram, and we'll take it from there.
It's the 5-minute review.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
For our 2A Spotlight, we are joined by Brent Tucker. To give you background on Brent, he is the owner of First Responders Coffee Company. He is co-host of the Anti-Hero podcast. He is a 20-year Army vet from the 20th Special Forces, also did time in Delta Force, did stints in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. Brent, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing good. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So as I was looking up everything, just kind of, you know, doing my research a little here and there, man, on your website, there was something that jumped out at me, and I just need to know if you can still do this, dude. That is a glorious mop of hair right there, brother.
Damn.
Yeah, that right there is about as dapper as it gets, dude.
Yeah, I've had good deployment hair. We'll call it that. I tell you what, every deployment that I could. I mean, especially in the Delta Force, like, you know, I didn't cut my hair for a few months going into it, and I sure as hell didn't cut it the whole time I was overseas. So I loved seeing how glorious a coif I could get.
Dude, that was beautiful. So just to touch on your military a little bit, listening in, doing some research, I saw that when you joined, or the reason you joined, if I'm correct, was 9/11. So you had to have been, what, 19, 18, 20, somewhere in that area?
Yep, 20.
You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I joined because of 9/11. I had no intention of joining the military. Not that we were an anti-military family by any means. I remember growing up watching Vietnam specials. My dad wasn't in Vietnam, but like every old white guy, he loves all Vietnam specials and World War II specials.
Yep.
So definitely grew up pro-military, but you know, we had a family business that I was in, and that I had.
Is it like
you
a
know,
garden center?
Yeah, Tucker's Farm and Garden Center. Yeah, it was a feed store. You know, just carrying. I'm a simple man, really. At the end of the day, I was content just carrying out bales of hay and bags of feed for my family business. You know, for the rest of my life, I loved being in a family business. So when 9/11 came around, it definitely was not something that was ever on my radar to leave the family business. You know, sure as hell wasn't on my radar to join the military. I wasn't even a very much of a risk taker as a kid. I didn't ride roller coasters, so it's not like I was just, you know, always looking for the next adrenaline rush and couldn't, you know, and like as if the military was a good fit for me. So it was definitely a surprise, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I don't want to keep talking about things that you've talked about on other podcasts, but it seems to me like in the 20-year career, starting at 9/11, you know, you were, I mean, I know it takes a little time, but you were on a fast track per se to go into SF. I mean, you know, some dudes, you know, try their whole life. Other dudes don't want it and they get it. Like, how long did it take? Like, how long did it take for you to actually kind of get in there?
Um, it took probably less than 2 years to get to selection. It probably took me 6 months of after joining the military to know that I didn't want to be in air defense. I realized that pretty quick. Um, and like I said, but before the military, I wasn't much of a risk taker. I wasn't. I'd never been challenged by a whole lot of things. I didn't do anything to challenge me. And there was just something about the military that absolutely clicked. I loved the the competition of PT tests. I love the competition of even the testing, the academic testing within air defense. In my AIT, I scored number one, and it was just something that clicked.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything I did, I wanted to be the first at. I didn't have the attitude that I was better than everyone else, and I'll prove it. I just, I
You just
don't
wanted
really
to
know.
be.
Yeah, I just wanted to be, and
Yeah. There's
I
nothing
thought,
wrong with that. It's competitiveness.
yeah. Well, I think there's a fine line between cocky and confidence, and I'm sure I've stepped over. I'm sure I've been on both sides of those lines in my career.
We all
Uh,
have. Yeah, no matter what you do, we all have.
right.
Yeah.
Even when it's not your intention, in the day, it's how you're perceived. So if that's how you're perceived, then it's the truth of them. But yeah, I had no problem attempting to beat everybody at everything. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know a better way to
you
say
went
that.
straight in. Yeah, did you go straight into? You went straight into special forces.
No, I went straight. I went to air defense first. So ADA, Air Defense Artillery, was my first MOS, 14 Sierra.
Okay.
And for a guy who joined to fight terrorism and really get some retribution for the biggest terrorist attack on our soil in U.S. history, air defense was not going to scratch that itch. I found
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I found out real quick that when the guys got back from their first deployment, they just guarded gates, and I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't join the military to guard gates.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty crazy too, in my opinion, just because the time you joined, for all of the right reasons, it seemed like everybody and their mother wanted to join the military.
Yeah,
So, having said that, just as a, I don't know whether it's because you were smarter than everyone else or dumber than everyone else. I'll let you decide. The military had their pick of just about anybody they wanted to come up those ranks and get to that upper echelon, and they picked you. And like I said, whether that was the best move or the dumb move, heck, you did it. And first, I want to thank you for it, but secondly, like that in itself is a feat. Before you ever put boots on the ground overseas, during that time, I mean, they have their pick of the litter, and the cream rises, and you were there.
yeah. I'm telling you, the Q course, the selection and Q course that I was part of in end of '02, early '03, was that group of just red-blooded Americans that raised their hand because America was at war. So they knew what they were signing up for. That's what they wanted to do, and you definitely got a different breed of person going into a wartime military than, let's say, the people we get now. And that's not bashing current military. That's just the facts of it.
Well, I mean, every generation, and Adam will be able to talk more about that as a DEI, but it just seems like, from my perspective, the greatest generation was the World War II generation, just because everyone wanted to sign up and everybody
That's right.
did their role no matter what it was. And you got just a little bit more of that, and you saw a glimpse of that, unfortunately, because of 9/11. But I still to this day say that was the last time I remember our country
I
being
think
as
so.
unified as it ever was.
Amen.
But everyone, like you said, knew what they were signing up for.
Yeah.
So Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, what was your first deployment?
Afghanistan. I guess technically my first deployment, not combat deployment, the first deployment was to South America. And as soon as I got back from South America, I went to dive school. Literally, I graduated dive school and flew to Afghanistan. And then I went from Afghanistan straight to Iraq. So
man.
as soon as I got out of the Q course, I was I was busy. It was a great time to be a single Green
Turning
Beret.
and burning.
Oh, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was exactly what the key course is long. I mean, it's the longest, specialty training in the military. It's a year and a half long. And if you want to be a medic, it'll be almost 2 years long. It is a long thing. And we were all worried. It's a little bit funny to look back at, but we were on the Q course and we couldn't wait to get out because we're going to miss the war. We got to hurry up and get out of this Q course or we're going to miss the war. Little did we know, we had a little bit of war waiting on us.
2 generations.
Right. Yeah. So that was, anyway, we came out the gates running and I loved it.
Dude, that's awesome. Adam, you got anything on that part?
You know what? I have to ask. So you were a first-time go at dive school?
I was.
I mean, most people don't understand that because I have friends also that have been through that, and that's impressive in itself because most guys love it so much they go 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
I hated it so much. I don't know if this was true, if I was lying to myself or not, but I said I have to finish dive school because if I don't pass this, I'm not coming back. It was miserable. It was miserable. So that's kind of what kept me in it because I was not. I don't know if I'd have came back. I hated it,
man.
But I'm so proud of my dive level, like most divers are, and it's a big joke in the community about, just like pilots or anyone else. You want to know if that guy's a dive guy, he'll tell you. I mean, and that joke's not far from the truth. But yeah, I'm probably. It's definitely one of the hardest schools I went to, and I went to them all.
I mean, everyone I've talked to in the military, and I have a couple guys that are good friends in special forces too, and everyone I think the concurring thing is dive school is probably one of the hardest courses in the military period.
But I'll tell you what. Well, there's obviously the pride and the challenge, the satisfaction of just another challenge under your belt, trying to see push your own limits and see how far you can go. Was definitely a reason I wanted to go to dive school. But the other reason was the best team in my company was the dive team, just bar none. I mean, those guys were badasses. They walked the walk, they talked the talk. And as soon as I got to my company, I was like, man, you could tell. I was like, who's those guys? Like, they'd be like, oh, that's the dive team. And
everybody knew.
Yeah, right. And I loved it. I loved their swagger. I love their confidence, and that's one of the major factors of going to dive school was getting to the dive team.
No, that's cool. So I have to ask you this: after 20 years of service, I know you have all these cool stories, but I have the most important question. After all that time in the military, I bet to this day you still remember your drill sergeants, don't you?
Drill Sergeant Todd and Drill Sergeant Augie.
Always.
I sure do. And Drill Sergeant Augie, whose full name is Drill Sergeant Aguanaga, I even remember that. He was at Fort Bragg. So when I was going through the Q course, probably 4 or 5 times, I hopped over, and he was a platoon sergeant, then a first sergeant. I'd hop over and say hi to him, like, hey, Drill Sergeant Augie. He'd be like, well, start first class Augie. You don't have to call me drill sergeant anymore. But I had great drill sergeants.
Man,
they were.
You didn't have Drill Sergeant Tom Cruise.
No. Oh, and here's another funny story. I went to basic training with my little brother. My little brother.
Oh, wow.
Earlier this year, graduated the Sergeant Major Academy down in Fort Bliss. One of his instructors was Drill Sergeant Todd. His basic training drill instructor ended up being one of his instructors at the Sergeant Major Academy.
Wow. It's a
How crazy
family
is that?
tradition.
Yeah.
It's a small world. It happens more than you think, those kind of weird things. I've had Sergeant Major said, I was the drill sergeant for this guy, vice versa. It happens. I mean, it's a small army. When I go back into the normal army, unfortunately, at one point, I'm going to run into these kids that I was drill sergeants for, and they're going to remember you. It's a small world.
Yeah. Of course, he's a civilian now, working there. I mean,
but he's still there. It's
yeah,
exactly. So go ahead,
Adam. Oh, I was going to say, so to kind of before we get into the coffee and the cigars, the newest thing, well, that I know of is that you have joined Tyler and that black hole of a podcast and became the only shining star. Thankfully. And I don't know, maybe if you and Magnet both get on there, it actually might be a constellation. But talk about that. What made you want to do that?
I'd say I really enjoy the Anti-Hero podcast. My life is so busy between, coffee, cigars. I volunteer basically to train police officers. When I can fit it in my schedule, I get more of those requests than I could ever fill. So I don't have a lot of free time. Tyler approached me, had a real professional, 10-page PDF talking about his numbers and how they're doing and what he wants to do. And
that's weird. That's not like Tyler. Wow.
He presented it to me. He was like, "Hey, I have a random question. Would you like to be the co-host of this podcast?" I looked at it and I put it on the couch and I was like, "Yes, I sure do. I'd love to be the co-host of the podcast." And I could tell that it hurt his feelings a little bit because he put a lot of work into that PDF, and he kept on and he kept on making little jabs at it, of sorts. Like, well, if you look at page 3 on the PDF, you'll see our growth rate. And if you look at page, and at some point I was like, "Tyler, do you want me to look at the
yes.
PDF?" He goes, yes, I do. I said, "Okay, I'll look at your PDF." But
Too
I loved
funny.
it. We had the same exact vision. I said, "Hey, I don't mind talking about special operations things and talking about my past, but currently." I'm here to support first responders. I've said this before, and it's true. If my family were to get in trouble tonight, or if I needed someone, or my family needed someone, the Green Berets aren't coming to save us. The Delta Force isn't loading up on little birds and coming to help us out. It's first responders. So that's the community I live in now, and that's who I'm going to support. And he was all about that.
I was going to say, I think that's interesting because, of course, we're a 2A podcast. We're all about the Second Amendment, and we're all about supporting everyone who wants to be in that, whether it be just civilians and, sports shooters, or it be military, or it be first responders. And we want to be as transparent as we can be, because we think that the far left is crazy, but the far right is equally as crazy. And I have a hard time. My father's retired law enforcement, veteran from Vietnam. My brother-in-law is, he is a retired veteran, and also he is active member of a police department here near me. And I find it really hard that people can say that they are pro-military, but they're not pro first responder. And I don't think a lot of people actually look into it, because if you actually do look into it, unless you actually took part in the schooling that the military offers you and says, "Oh, hey, with the GI Bill, and you can go to school afterwards and give us 4 years and all that stuff." When you come out of the military, not to say everyone is not smart, but for the most part, you're only good at a certain number of things. And one of those things that is very easy for you to transition into is first responders.
Absolutely.
And there's 25% of the nation, 25% of law enforcement is minimum. 25% is retired military. I think it was 20% is firefighters and 15% is EMT. But for people to say that they're not pro first responder but pro military, they really need to check their facts, because a lot of those guys that are military that you do support have transitioned into other roles, and I think people just need to realize that.
So I'm pretty right wing. As I don't think it's going to shock anyone here.
No.
I don't think the term most Green Berets, special operations, are right wing conservative Americans. I'm not saying they're not out there. I'm just saying I've never shared a team room with a Democrat. There's just no way around that. So That being said, I find it hard to get right of me because I feel like I'm pretty right wing. But you nailed it when you said the extreme right, which I really kind of almost consider myself naive about. Yeah, I know there's a couple conspiracy theorists here and there, but I cross paths as FRCC did with the fringe 2A community, and it blew my mind. They are so anti-police because they believe cops are the ones
Are coming to get your guns.
Are coming to get your guns. And they told me, how can you pretend to be pro 2A and support first responders? And I was absolutely taken back by it. And now I laugh about it now that I know it, and I look a little more into it, and it's everywhere on Reddit or these fringe right-wing 2A'ers. And it blows my mind. I always ask them the same question. Of course, there's really no use in really talking with them. But
no, you won't change their minds.
Oh no,
it's
but they're adamant. Cops are coming for your guns, and I say, "Do you own guns?" And they say, "I own a bunch of them." And I said, "And how many of those did the cops take from you?" None. Do any of your friends own guns? I bet they own a ton of guns. How many of your friends' guns have cops come and taken? Well, the answer is none. So they're all worked up. Whose guns are cops taking that they're all worked up about?
And honestly, talking to my dad about it, talking to my brother-in-law about it, and actually talking to Tyler about it a little bit, if you really break it down, the average pro 2A household, if you send PD out there and they come with a partner, or they come with backup, odds are still, even at that point, that house has more guns and ammo than those cops. They are already outgunned.
Right.
So they don't want to do that. They understand if you send them into, even when it's, hey, there's a felon that has an outstanding warrant and you got to go serve him, they already are preparing that there's a weapon in that house. I could only imagine, oh, hey, you need to go to Adam's house and you need to go get all his guns because we've decided we're taking them. Like, I could only imagine what goes through those officers' minds as they're going to Adam's door to knock on it. Like, well, here it goes.
Right. And some of that, and sometimes they'll refer to, someone getting, as a verb, Baker Act, that to go take their guns because of perceived violence that someone reported on them. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really know how to feel about that because I am very, shall not be infringed. What part of that don't you understand? But, however, when a police department gets a legitimate tip, we'll just choose a hot button topic, that this person is unstable and is going to go shoot up a school, and they temporarily come and take your guns until they can figure out the problem. I don't think that's the same as taking your guns and never giving them back. It's a temporary thing during a very small percentage. And a part of me feels like it's the right thing to do, and the other part of me is kind of upset about it. So I'm like, so anyone can just call in and get your guns taken away?
So I was going to say,
subject.
On that, I think there should be repercussions for the person that calls in, because if you get the angry ex-girlfriend who says, oh, hey, he's not stable, yada, 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 and then like you pull up to my house and I'm like, hey, dude, you want a beer? Come hang out. I'm just watching the game. And you realize that I'm an okay dude with okay intentions.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same as pulling the fire alarm in the school or whatever. Like, there needs to be a repercussion for that.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
But something you actually talked about on your podcast with Tyler that I wasn't aware of, well, I guess I was aware, it's just no one ever thinks about it, is there are instances where police have to take your guns. And one instance is going to be, I'll ask Matt, because I'm not sure if you caught up on this. I'm not picking on you. But if you get in a car accident and you hit your head and you're bleeding from your head and you need stitches, but you got your pistol on you, the cops have to take that gun from you so you can be transported by ambulance to go get your head taken care of. And then the next morning after you wake up and take a couple ibuprofen, you can go down to the PD and start the paperwork to get your gun back. And it's not a lot, but they just can't leave it sitting in the car, and they can't put it with you in the ambulance to go to the hospital. It's got to go somewhere.
Here is gun.
So some people don't think about those trivial things like that I don't know, man. I mean,
But
I'm with you. There's got to be a give and take.
both of those scenarios are small percentage one-off scenarios, but they get on Reddit and work themselves up. Like at any moment, the next knock on your door could be the police taking your guns for no reason. And I can't get behind that.
Just like,
No.
I mean, either side can go and find instances of whatever they're saying is true. The cops came and took someone's guns. Like, yes, of course. But if it's taken out of context, it doesn't mean fuck all. And so
Right.
I think Mike's right about that. Far left and far right, they're just as scary.
Yeah. Now, is some entrapment being done on sites like Gunbroker and things where it's like, hey,
Yes.
I've got this Glock with a switch for sale, and like, if you're some stupid 24-year-old dude that's like, hey, I'm gonna buy that and have it shipped to my house, like, if you think that's really gonna happen and there's not gonna be a knock at your door with a guy with 3 letters on the vest knocking, like, you're definitely way too naive for this world. I mean,
Glock switches on Temu.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
they're coming for you. They're definitely coming.
And I don't give people passes on that. Yeah, you didn't know. Everything in this day and age is a Google search away.
Yeah.
It'll take 5 seconds to find out the answer for it.
The quick answer is I don't care how ignorant you are on the Second Amendment or NFA laws. If you're ordering machine gun parts on the internet, you know you're doing something wrong. Unless you're an SOT, like you know you're not in the right by ordering
it's like
machine
buying
gun
the
parts on your
Anarchist
phone.
cookbook. It's like buying the Anarchist cookbook. If you buy it, it's cool as hell, but you're going on a list. I don't care who you are. You're going.
This is why I said I find it hard to believe that you can get much more right than me. Even though you said you're wrong, I don't believe that should be wrong. I have no problem with ordinary citizens having an automatic Glock. I don't.
Me neither.
No.
Me neither. But in this day and age, with the laws that are in place currently, I mean, those are the rules right now, so we have to play by
That's
them.
right. So if you want to change it, go change the rules.
Go change
Yeah,
it.
I mean, the people that scream from the mountaintops, hey, let's downsize the government. Hey, I'm right there with you. For the people that say defund the ATF, I mean, I see your point. It's never going to happen. It's a money grab for the government. So you got to reprioritize and come up with a new proposition because they're going to stay. So how about argue for something positive?
Right. I've heard great arguments, to abolish the ATF and why they're a redundant agency and aren't needed. And I think those are great arguments. Like you said, it's never going to happen. So we have to live in the world that we're in. But so I don't. Again, I find it hard to be much more far right than me. But boy, was I wrong. They're out there.
They're out there. Hey Brent, I wanna ask, since like you obviously nowadays you don't spend too much time running around doing cool guy stuff. Not at least not to the same degree. Not that you're not a cool guy. But and you also don't have government funding necessarily for your whole kit.
Right.
So as far as like if you're gonna go out to the range and run a rifle and a pistol system, what are you working with right now?
We'll start off with pistol, and
Okay.
I'll get a little bit adamant about this, and I'll hurt some people's feelings, but that's okay.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
There's only one pistol to take to the range, and it's a Glock 19.
Man, I can't even really argue that. I mean, I can fight with Glock, but at the same time, like, the 19's proven. My question to you, though, with that, before you go into your rifle, is you're military. I mean, I know you were a cool guy, but how good are you actually with a pistol?
I'm better than you.
Then that's all I need. I'm not good. I'm not good.
I'm just kidding. Hey,
do you see any pistols back here? I'm not good with a pistol.
Here's I'll say this. I think everyone should be, their hardest critic. I go to the range, these days, and I'm a shell of the shooter that I used to be when the government used to give me unlimited ammo and unlimited time, to go train in a free range. It's a perishable skill. And so I go out to the range and I'm always like, man, that was not good. And I'm usually the best shooter out there, and I haven't been to the range in 4 months. So it's hard to it's not like how good am I? I'm pretty good, but I'm not what I was. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I say that jokingly because most military, they honestly they suck with a pistol because I mean, you don't use it that often. So it's you use your rifle. So it's like, yeah, hey, I got this pistol, but unfortunately, I don't use it.
We don't, for whatever reason. Yeah, I go on podcasts. We don't always talk about going to the range, so I enjoy this new territory. I'll tell you something that's I think unique. When I go to the range, I don't think other people have to deal with, and I completely get it. When you show up to the range and word gets out that there's a Delta Force guy here, or former Delta Force guy, someone at that range wants to come beat you at something, or they want to come challenge you at something, or they know they're going to lose, but they just want to see how good you are. And I still have pride, in my background, and yes, I'm not as good as I used to be, but I also feel the expectation of, they know who I am, and I have to perform to a certain standard to impress them, for them to walk away going, yeah, that guy was good. He was definitely in the Delta Force. And it's pressure I put on myself, but that is definitely an oddity that I've found out, over the last couple of years going to the range.
A belt you'll have to defend forever.
Yeah, so I'm going to call this now. I'm calling this now because we've got another buddy who's close to Orlando that we're supposed to go down and hopefully do a live stream of a tactical event, and Whiskey and Windage is actually going to do the live stream and commentary on it. But after that's done, we're going to find you and Tyler, and we're going to have some beers. We're going to hang out, have a good time. And the next day we're going to wake up and we're going to get some friends down there. And let's live stream it. Let's do a pros versus Joes, and it's all for good fun.
Yeah.
But let's just see what happens. Let's just have some fun with it. And I mean, yeah, somebody might get you on one round, but they're not going to win. But hey, it'd be good fun.
Yeah,
I'm flying with 2 AKs.
Oh man, well, all right, you're already at a disadvantage, but that'll work.
there is one thing that, again, it's the same thing, broken record. I'm not as good as I once was, but every now and again when I do SWAT training, CQB training with SWAT teams, that's where you really feel like you shine. I mean, I could go 2 years without running through a house, and don't get me wrong, I don't deserve to be anywhere near a Delta Force team right now, but anyone at any level have a really hard time keeping up with me in the house.
Have you ever thought about, I know you do SWAT training, but have you ever thought about doing tactical rifle training and actually, or maybe you have done this, I just don't know about it, but if you did, I would definitely, partially because of your pedigree, but also because I know who you are, also because I know what you stand for. If you ever did a training, I would definitely sign up and come take it. But have you ever thought about that?
I've thought about it. I don't have the time. I have a very high standard of my product, and regardless of what that product is. So there's, it would take a lot of time for me to put on something that I believe that I'm proud to put my name and my pedigree's, name on. One. Two, and I'm not bashing, any of my former teammates that do this, but to me, that was something I did in the past. I'm closing that chapter, and I just don't want to be that 40-year-old, that 50-year-old at the range or in kit that just can't let go and has to be around guns and shooting, and that's my identity. It's not. So that's another
Tom
reason.
Brady. It's like Tom Brady, dude. Just hang it up and move on. Go sit in the booth.
Yeah. The last time I was a sniper as well, and I put on a shooting sniper event but I did it for free to, donors paid to come out to it, and all the proceeds went to Mike Milmerstadt's widow, and all went to a good cause. So I'll still show up to those events if I can, almost every time. If it's to raise money for first responders, I'm there. But it's probably not something I'm going to do to raise money for myself.
Man.
So you told us Glock 19. If you had to run out the door right now, the big boogaloo is popping off on the street. You put on your
Give us
Hawaiian
your best Kyle Rittenhouse.
You put on your Hawaiian shirt, but what's the rifle look like that you're walking out the door with? Quick rundown, but the tip.
And there's two different answers to that, and it's the same. And not to stay on the pistol for too long, but
nope,
it's why the Glock 19 is the only. Is the staccato better? Of course, the staccato is better. But
not in combat.
It's right, but that's true.
Yeah.
If I'm paying for it, it's a Glock 19 all day long, and you can't beat it. So that goes into the rifle. Who's paying for this rifle? Before I answer that question,
it's your rifle.
It's free. My rifle? No, but I'll just Which one do you have that you would take out?
I have a few, but my Lion Arms rifle is everything I need in a rifle. It's not. I'm very even though I'm not asking you to buy the cheapest gun. I almost named a gun company, but I probably shouldn't. We'll just call it the cheapest. Don't buy a $500 or $700 AR. You get what you pay for. I also don't believe that you need to pay for a $3,500 H&K. Lion Arms guns are $1,500, and I see them fix cheap guns all the time. And there's some of those cheap guns are like, hey, you have to replace this gun. It's just not ever going to run, which blows my mind. So you spent $600 on a 30-round paperweight. So Lion Arms, there's no reason to spend any more money. I've never had it break on me, and I'm still a little bit bougie, and I can get it painted whatever color I want painted. So why
Did you have sticker shock when you came back stateside and actually had to buy your own shit?
So I said that in a podcast, and I read the comments, and I'm sure, as you guys know, don't read comments in any podcast you're a part of.
Hey, you know what we call? Hey, you know what we call that, Brent?
We only have 10 followers, and they're all still pretty positive at this point.
And one's my mom. No, when you come back,
Mike's mom's really nice.
Yeah. Here's what we call that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here it goes. First world problems.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. So I made a comment. I said, I used to consider myself equipment bougie. When I went to the Special Operations International Sniper Competition, I had the best gun with the best scope, with the best laser rangefinder, with the best of everything. Obviously when I worked at the unit, anything I wanted, I got. When I retired, I had to buy my own stuff. I thought I was an H&K 416 guy. Turns out I am not an H&K 416 guy.
Turns out I'm a Aero Precision or a...
Yeah.
Now, I did splurge for a Night Force scope. I think there's some things that you do need to spend the money on. But even that, I could argue, it doesn't have to be a Night Force scope. There's other things that I could have bought that would have done the job. But in the comment section, there was a bunch of comments was like, this guy doesn't understand. And I love it when people tell me what I don't understand about the military.
Well, they know. They know more than you.
I know.
That's what the internet's for.
And then, the equipment he was using was lowest bidder equipment. He wasn't using anything nice. And I don't want to sound like a dick and preface everything with, well, when I was in the Delta Force, but that is a little bit of a changer to the equipment that I use. I'm not talking about the Beretta M9 for a sidearm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your sidearm when you were in the unit?
Glocks.
19.
I had about 6
Or
different
17?
Glocks. I had about 6 different ones.
So in your unit, when you would actually go, if you can talk about this, when you would actually go out, what position were you? Like, what were you carrying? Like, what was your rifle? I mean, were you grenadier? Were you a?
We don't.
That works a
Yeah,
little different. That's a little different what he does.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you still can have one. You can
No,
still have a
no.
203 underneath.
That's a little different.
You could, and some guys would have one, but I'll tell you why they'd have one. Usually, sometimes we would have like I can't remember even who makes it now. I believe it was an H&K product, but it was a 6-shot 40 mic grenade launcher. But that would usually stay on the bird. We'd use it in various situations, but before prepping a target before getting off the bird. But no one left the bird with a grenade launcher in their hand usually. There were some single grenade launchers that were really small and only the unit got. But if we had it, usually we had marking rounds in there because that's what we were using to call for fire or to get a bird to land there. It really wasn't necessarily even offensive.
Adam, before I turn this over to you to talk about FRCC, he did preface and he did bring up the bird, so I do want to talk about something that a lot of the listeners may not know about Brent. But as Brent told you with all of his training, Brent, you got to let me finish my sentence here before you cry openly. But a lot of people don't know this, but the first bird that touched down at the Bin Laden compound that crashed, Brent actually flew that, and Rob O'Neill rescued him from that wreckage and pulled him from it, and that was the first save that Rob O'Neill did that night. So
among many. He's only just begun to write books. You gotta wait till for the rest of his volumes to come out.
Chuck Norris fears Rob O'Neill.
In Rob's mind, that is a true statement.
That's awesome.
Honestly, dude, before he takes over, though, I do want to say I appreciate the fun. I appreciate the banter. I appreciate that your sense of humor, that I can pick at you like that.
Oh, yeah.
I do appreciate your service. I appreciate everybody who serves. I'm not going to tell you that I was the guy that I was going to join. Everybody hates that shit. I didn't serve, so that's the end of the story. But thank you for everything you did.
Amen.
And Adam, I'll let you talk about the present and future of Brent Tucker.
And if anyone wants to know why that joke to me is relevant, go to the Anti-Hero podcast, episode 37. For 2 hours, I break down Rob O'Neill's story and completely pick it apart.
Sure do.
Oh, look,
That's
I
a
got
good
this
one.
for you. Here it goes.
The truth. You can't handle the truth.
I told Tyler, I said, I want a soundboard. I want a soundboard.
Hey, I will DM you and I will show you the one I have. It's actually pretty damn cheap.
Okay.
And it is hours of fun. I can just put so
He's
much
been having
stuff on
such a
here.
good time.
Too much.
Dude,
Too much
it
fun.
is
Too
the
much
best
fun.
thing ever.
I'll
Too
get
much
that
fun.
thing for one episode, and Tyler will take that away from me.
Well, the thing is I told Adam got pretty pissed at me about it. And I said, Adam, the beauty is you can buy one too. We may not even need to talk. We can literally just have a sound effect war for an hour and just be done with it.
It's like the podcast version of talking through GIFs.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Pretty
we
much.
all have a text thread that's just nothing but GIFs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Brent, I know we got to wrap it up soon, but I wanted to talk about 20 years in the military, and I know I'm getting to the later end of my career now. It's like, what are you going to do next? At the end of your career, were you already thinking about starting FRCC and cigars? Was that like your game plan, or did you get out and you're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do? Like, how did it start?
I had zero plans getting out of the military. Again, not to harp about the Delta Force thing all the time, but being in the Delta Force, I was still on a team. At the end of my career, I retired off of a team, so I never had time to sit back and think about what was next. I was just, busy, trying to earn my spot. So when I got out, I knew I'd have time. I knew I could fill up my time through contracting, but I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I didn't do any overseas contracting. I didn't want any part of that. All the contracting I did was stateside training. And that paid pretty good. And between my retirement and the contract work, it kept me afloat and I was doing well. But like I already said, I didn't want to be 50 years old, being a catwalk, telling a guy to clear his corner every third run, and that's just my life. Like I wanted, there's nothing wrong with that. Guys should absolutely get out and train the next generation, which is what I felt like I did and was a part of. But I knew I wanted to do something more than that for me. And I did have this want to be an entrepreneur, be my own boss, not have to deal with having a substandard boss, or being in a situation that you can't control because you work for someone else. So you can complain about that, or you can put your money where your mouth is and be your own boss. And that sounds about that easy, and it is that easy, to be honest with you. But
Scariest part's jumping.
oh man, but be prepared to work more hours for less money than you've ever worked. But again, it goes back to everything prior in my life, whether it was the challenge of the military, the challenge of dive school, the challenge of SF, the challenge of Delta Force. I wanted to see what my limit was. And there really, in one aspect, has been no greater challenge than starting my own business.
Nice. Like, what made you do coffee? Like, I mean, obviously there's lots of coffee companies out there. There's actually a couple of other veteran-owned ones, I think, too. I kind of aware of a couple. But what made you decide coffee, cigars? Like, what was your, this is what I want, this is where my passion's at? Because obviously to start a business, you have to have some passion. So, like, are you a coffee snob? Was that kind of how it started, or?
Nope. Which is ironic, right?
Nope.
To answer the first part of the question, there's a lot of people in this space, and that is absolutely true. But with any business, unless you're launching satellites into space, but guess what? You're not going to be the first person launching satellites into space either.
It's also a
always
pretty crowded market.
Right. There's always someone else in your market. So, how do you distinguish yourself in a crowded market? So that's why that's one of the reasons we went first responder specific, is because no one's really planted a flagpole in that space. There's no getting around it. Black Rifle is a juggernaut in the coffee community. And they have the veteran community, with no argument there. So, but the first responder community, after doing, my research, I mean, you add them all up, they're a multi-million man army between all the first responders and retired first responders and their girlfriends and family. So it's a huge space that I don't think anyone was really working in. That's one reason I chose first responders. The other is I happened to be down in Fort Lauderdale training a SWAT team for free. And, that was one of the several times in a row I had been doing free training for police, and just really realized they need resources. What can I do to support these guys as well? So you take the total picture, wanting to start a business, already kind of working with first responders, seeing a need, seeing that there's there's a niche in that space. That's what took me that way with coffee.
Nice. And then after coffee started, how soon after the cigars? The cigars are a little bit newer, right?
Yeah, I almost launched cigars and coffee at the same time, and I'm so glad I didn't. Because I made so many mistakes in the coffee business starting out. We've redone our packaging, we've redone our logo, we've redone our marketing plan. Even though I did a 17-page business plan, which I'm not telling anyone.
Did anybody read that one?
Only a few.
They just set it
Only
down on
Tyler?
the coffee table.
Only
Tyler-
Tyler. He was
Tyler-
the
yeah,
only guy
Tyler
that
read
read
it.
it. Tyler read that shit.
Only a few. I like to keep my plans close hold. You know, I don't want to be that guy walking around being like, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a business. You know, I had close friends and family that had no idea I was starting a business until I started it.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Exactly.
Man.
So I'm not saying don't do a business plan. I learned a lot in that business plan, but it's a lot like combat. You can have a great plan and you should absolutely plan, but as soon as you hit the ground, you better see what reality is and quickly identify problems and how fast can you pivot off of those. And so I took that same type of mentality to the business world, did everything wrong. And I've said it before here at the company, I don't mind making a mistake, but we can't ever make the same mistake twice. So
Right.
that's been the motto. We've changed everything. Every pivot that we've made has worked out. And all those lessons learned from coffee, which is why I'm so glad I didn't do cigars in the beginning, because that would have been twice as many products and packaging and marketing plans that I had to redo and lose money on. We brought cigars in 6 months later and still didn't do it perfect, but we definitely did it a lot better than we would have. And the cigar business has been absolutely great. But we probably sell more cigars than we do coffee.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I was curious. So, do you have more of a passion for cigars? Because I'll be honest, every time I see you or we get in a live, you're always smoking a cigar or you're smoking hookah. So you're definitely a cigar guy. Is that definitely more your passion then?
It is definitely more my passion. You know, I can.
I would say yes.
Yes. And so part of that was a little bit selfish, you know, bringing on the cigar line because I love cigars. But the other thing is why we launched it is, you know, the more we donated $20,000 to first responders last year in our very first year of business.
Oh, hell yes.
And in that first year of business, I don't mind showing you my paycheck of what I made for 12 months of hard work. It's right there. I haven't made a single dollar on this venture yet. It's awesome knowing that everyone else in your company makes more than you do.
I mean,
Good to know.
dude, you're doing great things for the community. I mean, I know you have the raffle. You actually have a raffle going on right now, don't we?
Yes, yeah, we got a gun raffle going on again for the Milnerstat family. You know, they're in our backyard, so I just want to do everything I can to a family that's in our backyard and the Orange County Sheriff Department. I live in Orange County. You know, I'm connected to them. So when they had something go on, in fact, as soon as it happened, you know, some of the SWAT guys looked at another SWAT guy that's connected to our company and said, "Hey, isn't this was what FRCC is for? Like, what are they going to do about this?" And they didn't mean it in that kind of derogatory term, like, you know, as it expected, but it was an honest question.
It's like the bat signal went up.
It did. It felt like the bat signal went up, and we went into overdrive doing everything we could, you know, for that family. And even though that happened months and months ago, we haven't forgot about it. And I knew from losing teammates, you know, my whole career, that you're going to get an influx of money, but then it's going to run out and they're going to forget about you. And that's just the reality of life.
Yeah.
So
You're going to get the condolences and you're going to get the initial, I'm sorry for your loss, and here's this little sum of money. And you look up and everybody's gone.
right. Yep. So we intentionally did this months later to try to, you know, both bridge that gap, a little bit of finances and of just of continuing those condolences. Be like, hey, we have not forgot about
Keeping
this.
that memory alive is important.
Still on
too.
our mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and,
Keeping that memory alive is important.
And
So
in
how
fact,
much longer is that raffle going for, Brent? I mean, are we going like another month? Is it?
it's actually just going a few more weeks.
Gotcha.
We've technically reached our goal, and now we're putting together a plan of how to do the best job of. I hate saying it like this, but it's the truth. You know, of capitalizing on this. You know, because we've given plenty of $1,000 checks away and have never taken credit for it. So if it was up to me, I'd just cut her the check and not say anything. But I also have a business to run, and if you don't show the good things you do,
Yeah.
At some point, people are going to say, "Hey, this guy says he gives back, but I never saw him give back." So
Yeah. Where can they go for the raffle? Is it on your website?
Where can they go if there's
Shout
still
it out.
time? Yeah.
So even though we met our goal, technically, you could still buy a raffle ticket and have a chance to win it. And I'll talk about it in 15 seconds or less. It's a short barrel rifle, 300 blackout, Lion Arms gun. It has a battle green worn paint job on it. Lion Arms donated the gun. CGS donated the suppressor. Liberty Defense donated the $400 suppressor wrap. Sig Sauer donated the Romeo and Juliet optic on it. Relentless Triggers donated the custom trigger inside it. It is a badass gun.
Hell yeah.
The tax stamp for both the suppressor and the SBR are donated, so you don't even have to buy those. You have to wait for the gun a little bit, but you're not going to have to spend a penny on this thing. Pictures are on the website. Go to frccoffee.com. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of the landing page, and you'll see pictures of the gun. You'll see the Mike Milmerstat story. You'll see a Donate Now button. Go to it, donate using PayPal, and every $10 you donate, you get a raffle ticket put into it. So if you donate $20, you'll get 2 raffle tickets. And I can track that through PayPal. So it'll say your name, it'll give me your contact information, $20. So I'm able to track it through that.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Well, we're going to put that link in our bio for sure, and definitely get that out for you. I know you have prior engagements, and I know you've got things to get to. So, Brent, unless you have anything else to add, dude, I want to thank you for A, the time, B, I want to thank you for the friendship that is developing. It's definitely new, but it's something that is appreciated by myself as well as all three of us.
Yeah.
So on behalf, in part of myself, I want to say thank you.
Absolutely, I appreciate it. It's super humbling, to be honest with you. And I'll come back anytime you guys need me.
Hell yeah. Well, next time,
Awesome.
hopefully we're live with you, maybe on Antihero.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna get you guys when you guys are down here in Florida. Come on to Antihero.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
It goes both ways.
We'll definitely do that, and then we got to do the Joes versus Pros for sure, because I'm gonna lose, and I'll say that now, but I'm gonna drop a 20 on the ground, and we're gonna pick a game and we're gonna play it, and
All
you
right.
can pick your money up later, but we're gonna do that.
Sounds like a good time. No pressure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Brent, we
Pressure.
appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
And that's about a wrap, guys. That was a great show. Brent, once again, thank you for coming on. Gentlemen, that was one of our best, I think, so far. Any closing statements for either one of you?
Hey, I just want to remind everybody to jump on over to Whiskey and Windage Reviews page on YouTube. It's Whiskey and Windage Reviews. That's where we touch the guns, we do some shooting. There's firearms, accessories, all of that. That's where you're going to find Mike, who his full-length video on the Sugar Weasel. So go over there, subscribe to that, hit the notifications bell. Scroll through there, watch a couple of them. They're not real long. Drop some likes, ask some questions. We love interacting with our people over there.
Yeah, and I guess my closing statement would be, man, looking at social media, I'm seeing a lot of people getting out there and shooting, and that really makes me happy. So I encourage that. Please get out there and do that. Get out there and shoot. It doesn't matter. Show your misses. I don't care if you hit all your shots, if you miss all your shots. What's important is you're out there. You're trying to get more prepared. You're trying to get better. So everyone,
Amen.
get out and train.
I couldn't agree more. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate both of you. I appreciate Brent. And by the way, guys, if you have not already, go over to Spotify and or Apple, whatever your platform is, and subscribe to Whiskey and Windage. Guys, Whiskey and Windage, start typing it in. You'll find us right away. Not to mention YouTube. Go over to YouTube, Whiskey space and space Windage. You will find us. Subscribe, hit the notifications. Guys, we do go live. We go live, and that's the only way you're going to know about it. That's all I got, gentlemen.
Preach.
All I want to say is stay dangerous, carry a weapon, and we'll talk to you soon.